In this movie, we'll address calibrating your 5.1 monitor system and how to effectively bass manage so you're hearing what your audience will hear. We'll be using the Waves 360 plugin suite, an industry-standard tool for software bass management. The concept of calibrating the 5 surround monitors is very similar to the stereo calibrations concept we learned in the stereo levels calibration video. You still need an SPL meter set to C weighting, slow response, and you'll play pink noise out of each speaker to measure it. So here we'd set our tones track to output first on the output.L first channel, and we'd play the pink noise. And we'd use our SPL meter to calibrate the output of that speaker. Remember, you want to calibrate at 85 dB SPL for large film style mix in a large room, 82 for a small mixing room for a film mix, and 78 or 79 for small mixing rooms when you're mixing for DVD, internet, or broadcast. So you're going to go through each speaker. First you do output left, then output center, then you're going to do right, left surround, and right surround, and you'll do each one, and you'll calibrate them to the same reading on the SPL meter. All speakers should register an equal level on the SPL meter, except in the case of if you're doing a straight-to-film mix on a large mix stage. In that case, you'll want the 2 surround speakers to be calibrated 3 decibels lower than the other speakers. Otherwise, all monitors should be calibrated equally. When you're calibrating the 2 surround speaker monitors, the left surround and the right surround, make sure you turn 90 degrees to the speaker you're calibrating so you don't block the sounds with your body. Also, you're going to want to aim the meter at the wall closest to the speaker you're calibrating. Now, what about the 0.1 of our 5.1 speaker channels? This is where it gets a little confusing. First, let's make sure we understand the discrepancy between the LFE, or low frequency effect channel, and the concept of a subwoofer. Although both concepts use the same big, deep sounding speaker, they are actually different concepts altogether. The LFE in surround mixing is a separate and discrete channel containing only low-frequency sounds directly routed to that 0.1 channel. In this session, for example, we have one of our effects tracks, fx.lfe, routed directly to that LFE channel, and it's feeding only that speaker, and it would contain only low-frequency content. In large movie theaters, all of the normal speaker monitors, the 5 from the 5.1, can handle a full range of sound from the lowest to the highest in frequency. So the job of the LFE channel is to send low-frequency sounds to that additional low-frequency speaker when thunderous rumble-type effects are needed. It's an additional low-frequency effect channel. The concept of the subwoofer came into play when people wanted home surround systems. The 5 regular satellite speakers of our consumer systems don't go down frequency-wise as low as theater speakers. So to counteract this, consumer systems automatically cross over and send any frequency below 80 Hz from the whole mix to the subwoofer. So in consumer systems, not only does the subwoofer contain LFE channel sound from our 0.1 channel, but also any sound from the whole mix under 80 Hz is being sent there as well. If we monitor in our mix room with full-range speakers, we don't know what effect this can have. So we have to use something called bass management when we monitor our surround mixes. This will emulate a home system so we know what we're getting if we mix for that type of venue. The Waves 360 Surround Manager makes this setup and monitoring easy through a software plugin. Here's how to set up and use it. So here in our master track, I'm going to instantiate the Waves 360 plugin on the last insert. So this is the very last thing that is being heard from our project. So I'm going to put in the M360 manager. And here it is. So it has a lot of different settings. And we want to first take care of making sure that the bass management is actually happening. Now notice it defaults to 80 Hertz, which is where we want it. And we just want to make sure that this is turned on for all 6 of our channels. So to do that, there's this all button here. We click that, and you can see everything lights up. So we've got the crossover system happening. Next thing we want to do is actually calibrate the bass management for each channel. So we're going to start by setting our tones track to output through the center channel only. So output.C. Then we're going to mute all of our channels except for the center channel on the Waves 360. Then we're going to solo the subwoofer. So that way we're getting just the sub reading as it's being pumped through the center channel. Remember, the bass management takes each channel's information, crosses it over, and sends it to the sub. At this point, we're going to play the pink noise, and we're going to turn up the sub until our SPL meter reads 6 decibels lower than our calibration. So if we calibrated our room to 79, for example, then we want the subwoofer reading on our meter to read 73. So I'm going to play pink noise, and I'm going to turn up this send to sub until I'm getting a reading of 73 on my SPL meter. It's going to differ for every system, but it's usually around -6 when we hear that. And then we're going to repeat this step for every channel. So we're going to go ahead and mute the center channel, unmute the left channel, send our tones output to the left channel. Again, keeping the sub soloed, and we're going to go ahead and play this, and we're going to bring this up until it reaches 73 on our SPL meter. They're going to be pretty close, all of these, as we go, but we do want to do each channel one at a time. So now we've gone through and we've set all 5 of our satellite speakers to send to the sub, and we've calibrated, in this case, all of them ended up about -6 in terms of reading 73 on our meter, since our main calibration was set to 79. And now our subwoofer has been calibrated. So we're going to unmute the sub, and we're going to unmute the rest of these tracks. And now we need to calibrate the LFE. We're going to solo the LFE channel in this case, and we're going to adjust it up starting at a starting place of +10. So see where it says LFE adjust down here. We have a couple options. If I keep clicking on it, I get -10, I get +10, or off. We're actually going to go above a +10 dV setting for our LFE. And the reason for this is because since it contains less frequency content than regular speakers, it's normal to calibrate your LFE 10 decibels higher on your SPL meter than the satellite speakers. So when we set this to +10 and we sent tone, for example, out just our LFE speaker, it should read somewhere between 89 and 92. In this case, we calibrated at 79, so it should read about 89 on our SPL meter through our subwoofer. And then you can have some fine adjustment here. If it's a little short or a little loud, you can bring it down a little bit with this fine adjustment on LFE gain. But this is a pretty normal setting to have it just be 10 decibels louder than your other speakers. Again, that's because it has less frequency content. So at this point, once we've gone through and calibrated our send to sub, and we've put our crossover in there, and then we've adjusted our LFE above, the bass manager is properly bass managing, and as long as the plugin is set on the last channel of our master fader, we're hearing what we would hear on a consumer system. So we're doing the bass management as we mix. Now, of course, at any time during your mix, you can go ahead and bypass this to hear, without the bass management, just the full straight up 5.1 mix. If you are mixing with DVD or home systems in mind, this gives you a way to hear what your end audience is hearing. Now remember, before you do your final print mastering, you want to take this plugin off because this is only for monitoring purposes. You don't want to process your final mix through this. What else can this 360 manager do? It can do some other cool things to help you monitor and surround. As you probably know, some control rooms and the architecture of some rooms make it so that you can't have the perfect setup of all your speakers. So in the case of if your center speaker had to be a little closer than you wanted it or a little farther away, you actually can delay in terms of milliseconds. So to get the time aligning of your speakers properly, you can compensate for that in the 360 manager. Like if your left surround and right surround aren't at the optimum angle of plus and minus 110 degrees, you can actually compensate for that to how they actually are in your room. So this is a very useful tool. If you're serious about calibrating your surround monitors, you're going to want to use this kind of software to get the best calibration. But most importantly, with the bass management, this tool allows you to hear the low frequencies as your target audiences will, which is incredibly important as you're mixing.